Well, it's another time for quarter notes and doing an EP edition again. I thought that I had covered most of the EPs before, and I mean, I'm of two minds with EPs, right? Like, I either kind of love them or I can kind of do without them. I appreciate when a band has a lot of music that they want to get out. And it doesn't quite feel right for an album proper. So they just kind of release it as like a 20-minute, here you go aspect. But for me, I always just wonder why they don't write like a 20-minute track or a 15-minute track to round off the album proper and release it as an LP. That's just my own personal take, especially when we're dealing with progressive rock outfits. But we've got 4 EPs now that I'm going to be talking about. I usually, as I mentioned, I don't really listen to EPs. I much prefer a full-length album. But these are from bands, groups, or artists that I really, really do respect. And some of it is just promotional to advertise an upcoming album. Some of it is live performances. And others are just, well, here's some tracks that we're kicking around that we want to flush out and put out to the world. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about 4 of them. I don't have a lot to say, which is why I'm not doing a full-length album review for any of them. But I have enough to say, and I want you guys to know about them. So, let's dive in. Disillusioned by Mariana Semkina. And I think I got that one right. Anyway, she is one half of I Am the Morning, a beautiful progressive rock outfit from her. And I want to say it's Gleb something or other. Anyway, a brilliant, beautiful singer-songwriter. Her voice is so haunting and so like engaging that it's hard not to essentially just fall for this siren call. She put out an album last year that I fell in love with that was Sleepwalking. I loved the overall haunting atmosphere that this album brought. I did feel like it was a little bit on the longer side, so I appreciate that with Disillusion, it provided a time limit for this being haunted in this Victorian halls of her music. All 5 of these tracks are brilliant, haunting. I love Mariana's command of a singer-songwriter. The lyrics complement extremely well with the music that's found around it. It's very beautiful. I've already used this simile before, but it feels like I'm in this haunted Victorian castle. The moors well lit with fog and atmosphere at dusk or dawn as the colors are bleeding in and out of the sky. Loving that soundscapes and that atmosphere. That is one thing that this album does so well, is the atmosphere that's being brought for this. You're not looking at these masterful compositions of complex time signatures. There's not a whole lot of like overlay of instruments for a very rich texture. It's really just Mariana, a keyboard, a guitar, a piano, and her bringing you through this soundscape. And I fell in love with this album. I do visit it quite often, especially in the evening. I think this is a beautiful evening piece that pairs very, very well with like an evening tea. So I highly recommend this one. I say go out and check it out. This one is an absolute, if you can find it in physical format, do yourself a favor and pick it up, as it does get the note seal of approval. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Disillusion from Mariana Semkina. Bent Knee on Audio Tree Live from Bent Knee. So this was a short kind of a live album that was for a very limited time available on Spotify. They have recently taken it off, which I'm a little bit saddened about. Again, we've got 5 tracks on here, most of them from their latest album of Frosting, of Invest in Breakfast, Queer Gods, and Not This Time. But we also have some fan favorites. My favorite track from them, of Leak Waters, the second track, as well as Set It Off. All of the tracks being presented in a live setting, I think really recontextualizes the music from Frosting. And I will be the first to admit, the more I listen to Frosting, the more I love it and enjoy it. I really love what the band was doing with this music. Completely different from a lot of their other works, and playing with different genres and styles for a very, very satisfying end. And being presented in it in a live outfit shows that they're able to recapture this energy of this overproduced, overpolished album from a studio album they're able to replicate that in a live setting. They're able to recontextualize it in such a unique way, like the overuse of auto-tune. I love how they were able to play with that in a live setting, and I just love it. The only criticism that I have, that I felt like some of the energy and flow was lacking just a bit, and I wonder if that was just maybe some of these more sophisticated, overlaid, and overpolished tracks have a little bit more of an edge when you provide it in a live setting. So yeah, it was a little bit of a mix grab bag for me, but what it did was it re-sparked and rekindled an already blazing fire of love and appreciation for their latest album. I wasn't a big fan of how they produced Leak Water. I felt like it was just a little bit lackluster in that sense. I have seen them perform this live a number of times, both on YouTube and in person, and I felt like they did a better job of capturing it there. I just felt like it was a little lackluster here. So I would say that Bent Knee on Audio Tree Live is one that I would download if you can find it. I think this is a great pairing and a great, I guess, accompanied, partnered album for Frosting itself. I would recommend it for sure. Plague Accommodations from Thank You Scientists. So I was really looking forward to this one. And honestly, when I saw the front cover of this, I thought I was looking at a Rings of Saturn album cover, just with the artwork and being very gnarly, very black light kind of an idea. Anyway, this album is a very big delight and a very big treat. I mean, Terraformer, their last album, was my favorite album of 2019. Blew me away. Their first two albums, Maps of Non-Existent Places and The Stranger Head Prevails, they were good. They were all right. It didn't really connect with me all that much, but man, Terraformer just, it got me like right at the core. So I was a little bit disappointed when Plague Accommodations followed suit with Stranger Head Prevails and Maps of Non-Existent Places, providing a very funky, very fun atmosphere of music, but I didn't really feel myself in it. I didn't really feel connected to the same length that I did. And some of it might just be the track lengths. None of the tracks go beyond 7 minutes, and I feel like that was one of the strengths that Terraformer had. It allowed the songs to develop. It allowed the songs to take on their own merit and their own identity, and I didn't really feel that on here. I still loved like some of the more chunkier moments on here. I love how they really embrace the jazz on here, with Giggle Button being the first one at almost 2 minutes. It's just jazz right off the get-go. Faye does an incredible job on the drums, just really hammering out such complex and strange time signatures on here that the rest of the band then tries to play around. Creature Comfort, Soul Diver, and the title track of Plague Accommodations have that. I feel like this one they went a little bit more metal in approach, a little bit more hard, a little bit more aggressive in a take, and I can understand that. I mean, 2020 was a very aggressive year, and I could see that angst, that anger being found on this album. But yeah, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more quirk, a little bit more personality on this EP, and it did disappoint me just slightly, if I'm being perfectly honest. But part of that was just how high I respect Terraformer. So yeah, this one for me is getting more of a download in terms of recommendation. If you're a fan of Thank You Scientists, you're going to enjoy this one. You're going to have a really, really good time. But yeah, this was one that I was just slightly disappointed with. It'll be interesting to see where the band goes from here, as Faye, their last drummer, has left the band in pursuits of her own musical endeavors, which I'm very excited about. If you haven't already checked out Trust Fund Ozo, go and do so. It is my favorite hyperpop project. So it'll be interesting to see how the band develops and goes from here. But yeah, that's what I've got for Plague Accommodations. Let's talk about the last one. Proper Jack Frost from Big Big Train. So this one comes as a little bit of a bittersweet. If you've been following the news and have been following Big Big Train, kind of know what's going on with this. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. What I want to do first is I want to honor the music. I want to honor the expression. And I love the fact that they've brought this album out now. It's an EP featuring 4 tracks from their upcoming album of Welcome to the World. Or sorry, Welcome to the Planet. I always want to say Welcome to the World because that's how they introduced this. But no, Welcome to the Planet. Their upcoming album that's going to be released early next year. We've got 4 tracks from there: Proper Jack Frost, Made for Sunshine, Laterna, and The Connection Plan. And I like how all these are very winter in feeling, a little bit more of a winter expression. They're all very short in terms of the Big Train expression, none of them going past 6.5 minutes. But I do enjoy more of the English countryside winter aspect on this. Now that we're coming into the proper winter landscapes, I'm enjoying more of the winter music without having to rely solely on Christmas music. I'm loving the overtones and atmospheres of this one, and it did what it was supposed to do in tease the next coming album. Now, normally I don't listen to EPs or promotional material of an album before the album's release, but I wanted to make an exception of this because of the news breaking last week of David Langdon passing away suddenly after a motorized vehicle accident. David has been with the band for a pretty long time, like almost over a decade at this point, and he helped really shape and develop the Big Train sound to the legacy band that it was. It kind of transitioned Big Train from a startup, homegrown kind of garage band to the legacy prog band that it is today. And a lot of that does have to go to David's singing styles, his songwriting ship, his attention to detail in providing this British expression of prog that had been lost for so many years. Like, he was really holding the torch that Genesis and Peter Gabriel had lit way back in the early 70s. And that was one of the main reasons that I came to Big Train and why I loved it so much. So his passing will definitely be felt within not only Big Train, but within the progressive rock movement as we currently know it. His vocals and his songwriting were such a staple of that it really grieves me, not only for the band and sympathizing with the band, but also the music that was still to come, because he was relatively young when he passed on, and he still had so much gas in the tank to make more beautiful music, and that's the real shame within this whole thing. So I wanted to dive in and listen to proper Jack Frost, and it's a bittersweet because this is the last, outside of the Welcome to the Planet itself, the last bit of new music that we'll hear from him. The whole album overall, luckily, was able to be recorded and mastered before he passed on. So it's a little, as I mentioned, it's a bittersweet hearing this echo from the past that's only going to be louder and louder as the years go on, knowing that this was his last work with the band. So yeah, it's a big loss, a big shame, one that my sympathies and my heart goes out to Big Train and David's family overall, because man, it's a shame that I never got to see him live, because the command that he had on stage whenever I watch any of the live performances, whoever is going to be coming in to fill the shoes will have a big task to have. So yeah, it would feel weird to rate proper Jack Frost, but what I will say is that it's one that I would download. I'm really looking forward to Welcome to the Planet. I like this little bit of a new direction that the band is taking on this. It doesn't just feel like a continuation of what we had from Common Ground. It feels like a next step. So yeah, it's one that I would absolutely download. So yeah, that's what I've got for proper Jack Frost by Big Train, and that's the last one of the quarter notes. So what did you guys think? How are your 4 albums that I covered on this? Again, I was sticking to EPs, but yeah, let me know of your own thoughts about each of these, if you love them, if you hated them, by commenting down below. I thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best, and until next time, notes out.